This video is about defining a site in Dreamweaver, in particular defining the local root folder. Now, local root folder just means it's a folder that exists locally on your computer as opposed to up on the World Wide Web. Now, we want to keep this simple because it's a very important process, one that's often overlooked, that leads to huge mistakes if you don't do it. So in simple terms, all you're doing is making a folder on your computer, going into Dreamweaver, telling Dreamweaver where that folder is, and then making a commitment to always working from a site, never just a file. So you define the site. When you go back into work a day or two later, you open up the site. You don't just open up a file. So first step is to make a folder on your desktop, and since I covered folders and so on in previous videos, I won't go into too much detail here other than say you may want to do exactly what I'm doing here because you're going to have a process check that is pretty much exactly showing me that you've done this. So name a folder your last name, your first name, and then hello world, because that's what we're about to do, is make our cliche little hello world website. Okay, and if you're working on a shared computer, desktop is always a good idea because you can, drag and drop back and forth from your thumb drive, drag your folder onto the desktop at the beginning of the day, work from your folder that's here on the computer, then at the end of the day, make all the changes that you're going to make and then drag that back to your flash drive. If you're working on your own computer at home, obviously you're going to come up with your own places in your file system that makes the most sense. If you're really new to working with files on a computer in folders, then I suggest you find some YouTube videos on that, and you would just start by Googling whatever computer type you're using, PC or Mac, and whatever operating system you are, and then just working with files in folders. Okay, so our next step is to open up Dreamweaver. And if you have the icon down here, you'll just simply click on it. If not, you'll go up to the magnifying glass and you'll type in the name of the program. Just make sure you're working on the latest version. And then inside of the program, if yours looks a lot different than mine, you probably want to start over here, click and make sure that it's on standard. So I'm selecting standard. And if somebody messed things all up for you before you got to it, you can just simply go back to standard and go to reset standard. So it makes it nice so that you and I are on the same page. Okay, so you're just going to go up to site now, and you're going to go to new site. Then you're going to put in the name of your site. Now, you do not have to give it the same name as the folder, but it certainly makes sense and keeps life a little bit easier. Okay, so once you've got it named in here, you're going to go and tell Dreamweaver where that folder is that you'll be working on for the next little bit. And so in my case, it was on the desktop. And there it is. I'm going to click choose down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to click save. And that's essentially it. You've just defined the site. And if you look over here under files, you'll see that this is your local root folder that you named. So here's all the things that we just covered, just in case you're taking notes from my notes. And next we're going to just go over completing that process check, and then I'm going to go into more details of how and why you want to work between different sites that you have defined in Dreamweaver. So to complete this process, we are going to go back into Dreamweaver, make sure that our site that we're working on is the one that's defined, and we're going to go to new, we're going to go to we're going to go to File, New, and then we're going to go to HTML, New Document. HTML5 is the type you want, and we're going to click Create. And then all we're simply going to do here is with the cursor between the body tags, we are going to hit return, and we are going to put in an H1 tag. So that's a caret, H1, and then the opposite caret. It automatically completed it for me. If not, you would just type in the caret, the /, and it would probably complete it at that point. And then we're just going to put in here, hello world. And that should update automatically. If it does not, you would just simply click here to make it update with the latest thing that you just typed. Now you want to save that page you just created by going to File, Save, and the only way to ever name your first page, well, 99% of the time anyway, is index with the lowercase i.html. This is another reason you define a site. As you see, as soon as I said save, it knew exactly where to put it. Click Save, you'll see that it shows up over there. So you basically just made your first website. Now, to satisfy the process check, I just need to see this. So you have to make sure, well, if you're showing me in person, it's pretty easy. If I don't see all this, I can tell you. But if you're going to do a screen share or something like that to show me, just make sure that the software fits within the area that you're going to screenshot. And I'm going to be looking for the fact that you defined the folder here and that you have an index page saved inside of it, and the contents is Hello World. So if you just grab this whole screen share, that's perfect. On a Mac, all you do to complete that is you go Command-Shift-4. That brings up this little crosshair, and you just simply click and drag across the area that you want to capture, and that would be enough. That's going to be on the desktop. I'll show you that in a minute. If you're on a PC, well, basically what you want to do is Google it for whatever operating system you are working on. So what I did here is I just typed in how to capture a section of the screen on a PC, and it looks like, you know, this is at least as of Windows 10 how you would do that. And then it looks like it's ready to be copy and pasted into another program. So hopefully you'll just be able to paste that into the area that you turn it in. If not, experiment a little bit with it. You can always reach out to me for help if you need it. Now let me just show you what we captured here on the PC by doing that. This is why you want to keep your desktop clean, because all of these that start with screenshot, it could be one of those. So another way to do that is go into the Finder. Go to, I'll go here to Go, and then I'll go to Desktop. And then if I sort these by date modified, here it is. And that's what was captured. So all you would do is rename that so that you could turn it in and so on. And that will be a PNG image. Now, if you're really having trouble capturing the screen this way or by Googling it for a PC, you could even, at least for this first process check, take a picture of this with your phone, but don't send me that HIC file. You would need to convert that to a JPEG, which you could Google. You could probably just simply email it to yourself. And possibly it would change it into a JPEG already. I'm not 100% sure about that, but those HIEC or whatever it is files do not operate very friendly inside of Canvas. But I'm sure we'll figure this out one way or another so that everyone can get this turned in. All right, so let's talk about some other important things related to defining a site in Dreamweaver. Once you're done with your session, you're just going to make sure that you save all your files. And if you have a zillion files open in here, a beautiful feature in this program is File and Save All. So everything that you've been working on as part of this folder will then be saved. Then you'd go ahead and close Dreamweaver. If you're working on a public system, drag your entire folder, that folder that you made as the very first step, put that onto your flash drive. Probably name the old one that was on your flash drive something different so that you now have a backup, assuming it's, you know, your second or third or fourth time working. Okay, First process check, we just talked about that. Setting up for another work session on the same computer. You basically just saw that. So from your flash drive, drag out another copy of the latest thing that you're working on. If it's first day, obviously make a brand new folder. Remember, like the last videos, to just keep working on sequential folders. But you're going to go to, let's say that it's the second day, and you are just opening up Dreamweaver. So let me just quit Dreamweaver. Now, when you reopen Dreamweaver, it will probably open to the last site that you were working on. So you just simply go up to Site, you go to Manage Sites, you look for the site that you want to regain working on, and I'll just pretend that it's the Hello World one, which was started with my last name right there. So I'll just double click that and click Save and click Done. And then you always want to close out any tabs that might be opened up here, and then go over to your site and click on the page that you want to start working on. Should you go to another computer, like let's say that it's past pandemic and you get to go to the library, all you're going to do is take your thumb drive with you, go into the library, drag your folder onto the desktop, and then you're going to go into the Dreamweaver and you're going to go to Site and you're going to go New Site, just like you did in the first place here. So the only time you will be able to go to Site and manage sites and open up that site again is if you are continuously working on the same computer. But I want to emphasize, you never ever want to work in Dreamweaver without defining the site first. And I'll just give you an example here of why you don't want to do that. Let's say that you have a website that has 3 or 4 pages on it, and you say, oops, I just made a little mistake on the index page. You just simply double click on the index page. Your computer's smart enough to open up Dreamweaver. Maybe it's set as the default program. You go in there, you make a change on the index site, you save it out. Maybe you have no problem, but maybe you didn't save it into the right folder. So I've seen students end up with 2 different index pages, one over here, one somewhere else. So don't do it for that reason. The other reason is if you made a change on your index that involved updating your links, and which caused something to change on a second page, usually Dreamweaver's smart enough to say, do you want to update this link on every page? So it's a huge time saver. Hopefully this never happens to you, but what if you're working in Dreamweaver and all of a sudden your site just goes horribly wrong? Luckily you took the advice from the files videos and you have a sequential backup. In that case, all you need to do is, as always, first close up any tabs, or which means pages that were open in here. Simply go to your site, go to Manage Sites, and then all you have to do is in that same site is just point to the new folder. That's it. You don't have to redefine the site. In fact, sometimes if you're experimenting a lot and you really do only want to open up a file every now and then, what I highly suggest you do, because otherwise if you define a brand new site for every single little experiment you do, you'll end up with a lot of sites in here. So you can make one that's just called like testing, and then every time you need to test something, you go to that site and you just simply, whoops, I'm sorry, let me go back in there because I missed one step. So we're going to go to Manage Sites, we're going to go to Testing 1, 2, 3, and then we just click to where that file is that we want to test and do the testing that we need to do, save or whatever we need to do, close it up, and then go back. Well, first of all, we're going to make sure nothing's open up here, and then we're going to go to the site that we want to continue working on. Remember, overall the process is extremely simple. It's always about working from a folder, telling Dreamweaver where that folder is, always working that way where you're working from the site. And then just remember, before you define that site, to look through Dreamweaver, make sure there are no pages open up in here, and then you're good to go to bring up your site.